Welcome to our Make the Shift with Sailynn to bring you free training that has worked for me in my business, is worked in the past, is currently working to allow you to stop overworking in your business, build the business of your dreams, and finally live your dream lifestyle. So, hey, my name is Sailynn. I am your fun business coach, and I am truly on a mission to help women build better businesses. I am kicking off a 4-week planning intensive to prep you for a productive 2024. And so this series I'm calling Work Less, Achieve More. And as you know, that's what I am all about. I am all about building a business that aligns with your dream lifestyle. So I want to talk to you today about your daily plan that you need. So many of the women that I work with, right? So my clients, they talk about not feeling accomplished at the end of the day. They're going to bed exhausted and frustrated, and they're just not feeling that sense of, I checked all the boxes on my to-do list. They're also frustrated, maybe stagnant, stuck at a revenue level in business. They've been at the same number for a while now, and they're like, what am I doing wrong, right? And the other thing is you're really starting to attach your self-worth to your business performance. I've heard from so many clients lately that they're really just feeling like down on themselves, right? You know, we've gotten past the pandemic, and 2023 was a year where I think a lot of people realized that pandemic business growth is not the norm. And so this year, many women set business goals based off pandemic goals, previous years, 2020, 21, 22. And for whatever reason, this year did not pan out how you might have planned. So I wanted to do this 4-week series so that way you could have your most productive year yet in 2024 without working more hours, right? Increasing your income. And actually, let's just reduce your hours while we're at it. Back in 2007, I purchased a franchise in Massachusetts. It was a senior home care franchise. We provided companionship, meal prep, personal care to seniors in their homes, which allowed them to fulfill their dreams of staying home, right? So my job was to provide caregivers into their home. On average, we charged about $20 an hour. And I started the business really with no idea what I was doing, and that's partly why I bought a franchise. And I was brought up by parents who always taught me, Sailynn, if you want something, you need to work for it. And so that's what I did all 2007, and then worked some more in 2008 and 2009. And by 2010 of hustling 80-hour weeks, I was mentally, physically, and spiritually exhausted, burnt out, but kind of in denial about it. I don't know about you, but as a success-driven woman, like I'm ambitious, I'm very driven, I love success, I love achieving goals. I did not want to admit that I was burnt out. But looking back, I definitely was burnt out. And there was thoughts going through my head of, if something doesn't change, I'm putting this business up for sale, because I knew I could not keep going at the same pace. Around the same time, I decided to make a shift in my business. I drew that line in the sand and I said, absolutely no more, something has to change. And so I did a few different things. But one of the things that I did was I started meeting with two neighboring franchise owners. And I am truly grateful for one of them who was a number crunching like guru. Like she crunched numbers about everything. And I was like, why do you do that? Right? Like I am not a math person. I struggle there. That is not my strong suit. And she said, if you want to be able to make educated decisions in your business and feel confident about them, you have to know your numbers. And so she started us out basically, it was like, okay, let's look at our revenue and then let's look at how many clients we brought in last month and how many hours of service and what was the average service hours per client. We started looking at those things. And we met every 90 days. If you know me, you know I love working in 90-day segments. It has been the answer to my career and business growth for the last 20 something years, right? And so we started meeting every 90 days. And every 90 days, we were bringing back our numbers and saying, okay, what'd you get? What'd you get? Kind of deal. Because we were in the same franchise and we were all neighbors, we were able to compare numbers pretty easily. They weren't exact all the time because we each had different dream lifestyle goals. So even though we had the exact same business model, we really changed things up depending upon what was our dream goals. We were at different points in our life too. And so, and what I realized is the more that I knew about my numbers, the better decisions I could make. And I was like, it was literally like, oh. And so I became a number crunching like crazy person, and I was crunching everything. I had spreadsheets up the wazoo, right? And it was because when I started dialing in on things, I was realizing where we were doing really well and I could double down, what needed some tweaking, right? That had potential, and then what needed to be ditched altogether. And so this allowed me to make better decisions. Now, why is knowing your numbers so important? We're here talking about daily planning because when you run a business, you need to know every single day. I call them your 3 daily IPAs, income producing activities. And what these are these are the metrics in your business that move the needle, right? Whatever way you want to go, right? Revenue up, hours down, whatever you're trying to move, they are your answer. So if you've been feeling frustrated, stuck, stagnant, like, oh my God, I've tried everything and nothing is working, it's probably because you're not crunching your numbers. And you need to crunch those numbers so you can get those 3 daily IPAs. Now, once you have your 3 IPAs, what do you do with them? Those are the 3 things that you do every single day, no matter what, right? And so you need to figure out how to make those happen every single day, no matter what, right? So for me, that was 7 days a week in my business. If I could, we ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but there was 3 things in my business that needed to be done every single day. So one, sales and marketing, right? Now this got done 5 days a week because that's when my sales and marketing person worked. But sales and marketing needed to be done out in the field in my business. It was like I needed my salesperson to go out and talk to people, find out what their needs are, remind them that they were there to bring in their referrals, right? The second thing is all those referrals were coming in. I needed staff in order to be able to fill those clients that were coming in. So my HR team worked 5 days a week and they constantly were recruiting, hiring, onboarding. So this was key, right? So we have the sales and marketing bringing in the referrals for the clients. We had the HR team bringing in the caregivers to service those clients. And then the third thing was I had to have a scheduling team that would pair those two together so we could actually provide the service, and get paid, right? So those three things had to happen every single day, no matter what, right? And so what I realized is within each of those departments, once I figured out what had to happen every single day, then I could dig in deeper, right? So the sales and marketing, when I first started, we were visiting like 1,000 different people in the community. But when I dove into my numbers, I realized that only about 20%, right? 80/20 rule. We all know this rule, right? The 80/20 rule, Pareto's principle, 80% of your whatever is going to come from 20%. So for me, 80% of my revenue was coming from 20% of those 1,000 referral sources. And so I narrowed down my salesperson to focus on those 20%. And then I did the same thing in the HR. And then I did the same thing in my scheduling department. And what happened is I built this cohesive system that every single day we as a team were working on those 3 daily IPAs. And when those were worked on every single day, that's when my business started growing, skyrocketing. What also happened is we were also working a lot more efficient, right? So the example of my salesperson going to see 1,000 people, now she was only going to see 200. So she was able to make better quality visits, provide better value, and not be exhausted and like overworking, right? She was like having a much better work-life balance. So when you start doing those things, it's so important. Now, here's why it's so important. Remember, I told you that we work in those 90-day increments, right? So let's say, and this was always happened, and I learned this lesson the hard way. So things would get really busy around the holidays. So for some reason, if you've ever had someone in senior care around the holidays, the hospitals love to discharge, right? Right before a holiday, especially a 3-day weekend. But I digress. But so what would happen is we would get really, really busy. And in the old days, I would pull the salesperson off the road and be like, I need you to come in and help with HR or with scheduling so that way we can do this. Well, if that went on for a couple weeks, guess what happened in 90 days? My referrals went down. Okay. Because I lost focus on my daily plan. Those 3 daily income producing activities were not getting done every single day. It was the same thing with HR, right? So let's say that we were in a slower part of the year, right? So not as many referrals were coming in, and we kind of had like a bunch of caregivers that weren't working at the moment. HR would kind of be like, oh, let's slow down and not hire. Well, guess what would then happen? All of a sudden, the referrals for clients would go up. HR would be backlogged and not have enough caregivers to service them. And then the scheduling department would freak out. And it was just a vicious circle. And so, what I learned is no matter what, no matter the time of year, no matter the day, no matter the revenue, no matter anything, we did those 3 things every single day. We had referrals coming in from clients through sales and marketing. We had new staff coming in through human resources, and my scheduling team was filling shifts. When those 3 things happened every single day, that's when my business was consistently growing. And so here's what you need to figure out. You need to know your numbers, determine what your 3 daily IPAs are, and then you need to do them every single day. Non-negotiable. That's it. When you do this and you stick with it for 90 days, right around that 90-day mark, I can almost guarantee you if you're doing the right things, like the true things that move the needle, then you're going to start to see some traction. And then another 90 days later, you're going to be like, oh my God, it's flowing. And then another 90 days later, you're going to see even more consistency. So week 1, as we wrap up this 4-week planning intensive, right? So you're more productive in 2024. We're increasing our income, we're decreasing our hours, we're growing, and we're building this business that we absolutely love and enjoy. You need to figure out what your 3 daily IPAs are, and that is going to become your daily action plan. No matter what is on your calendar for the day, those will get done. When you do that and you commit and you become consistent, you will start seeing the results. So I hope you found this beneficial today. And really, if you have any questions about this process, comment below. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. I will see you next week. We're going to talk about weekly planning next week. I'll see you then.